They could not imagine that the one who would destroy their whole system would be doing it only with the help of his ability to be absolutely motionless, to observe things with extreme acuteness and demonstrate extreme patience. It deserves reflection, because somewhere right now, those masterminds who constructed the current world order, the ones who feed on people's reactions and built toxic social systems to trigger these reactions, are facing a challenge that seems impossible for them to decipher. All their traps that are designed to generate fear, anger, and obedience in people just hit an impregnable wall. And this wall is you. You are not an expert in the techniques of mental domination. You became one through your life experience. Everything around you made you suffer. Chaos, betrayal, disappointment. But somehow you turned out to be a person who observes human energy dynamics, as a hacker does it regarding a computer code. They do not understand how you manage to predict their reaction, neutralize their hostility, and change the energy of an environment without making a single movement. This looks like playing multi-dimensional chess on the board, which ordinary people even do not know. The best thing about it, you are not even trying to play their game. You just reveal their game just by refusing to participate in it. You reverse the entire manual of psychological manipulations just by being aware of what is happening in a world completely hypnotized by lies. Imagine how disturbing it must be for people and systems that depend on manipulation to understand that somebody who is not holding any position of power, does not have any hidden agenda, and demonstrates absolute calmness, just performed the psychological operation so flawlessly that it looks divine. This is not about paranoia. This is about recognizing spiritual patterns. You do not need any surveillance technology, because your intuition is capable of picking up energetic frequencies faster than any technological device. So yes, the masters of manipulation are observing you now. Not because you are too noisy, but because your clarity started to look like a fatal threat for their illusions. Let's analyze exactly how you managed to do it. First, you turned survival in a toxic environment into spiritual precision. It is not a metaphor. It is a fact. Those very tricks that are supposed to destabilize ordinary people, you learn to decrypt and neutralize. You do it without any noise. They analyze patterns of manipulation. You analyze patterns of truth. You are not a master of manipulation. You became a master of discernment. There is a huge difference between these two skills. Deception creates the illusion, which leads to confusion, but discernment creates spiritual clarity. And this is exactly what makes your movements so disarming. They do not originate in some desperate attempt to control other people. They originate from absolute spiritual certainty. You do not play mind games. You just observe them. You clearly see through the methods which people are not even aware of. Gaslighting, projection, guilt tripping. These tricks are no longer invisible to you. In your eyes, they are highlighted in neon colors. What makes other people react emotionally, you observe psychologically and spiritually at the exact same time. You feel when people's energy is used as a bait, when their silence is used as punishment, when their kindness becomes a transaction. This is exactly why people are misunderstanding you. They think that you are distant or cold, but in reality, you are just calculating, not maliciously, but consciously. You manage to develop the art of observation to such extent that every breath you make has its purpose, even if it looks completely effortless. You did not learn how to do this in universities. You learned it thanks to survival experience. Every betrayal that you had to face made you study hidden intentions. Every conspiracy that you had to fight trained you to understand the dark patterns of human psychology. Pain that was supposed to break you turned you into the master of analysis of human energy dynamics. So when they attack you with psychological tricks that aim to provoke, to intimidate, or to manipulate, you do not react, you recalibrate. You can smell the emotional warfare before the first word is even said. This kind of awareness is what giant corporations spend billions of dollars to recreate artificially through algorithms, but you manage to master it naturally. You do not manipulate reality for your own benefit. You are just aligned with it. You do not outsmart people. You outsee them. Now, you should understand that you think in layers, not in straight lines. For most people, life looks like a straight line with some cause and effect relations. So if somebody is shouting, they shout back. But your mind stopped working this way long ago. You observe human interaction as an interconnected network of energies, hidden motives, and unforeseen consequences, which are all happening at the exact same time. You do not only process what is going on, but you also understand the reasons for this to happen, who benefits from this situation, and how it will affect the future. This is the reason why you remain incredibly calm when everybody else panics, because you do not just observe the event. You observe the entire architecture behind the event. Your thinking goes far beyond the surface logic. You interpret people's body language, micro-expressions, changes in the atmosphere, even silence. Everything becomes the raw data. You do not only listen to their words, you listen to their intention. This is what makes your awareness so disturbing for people who use masks. They cannot fool the person who listens to the vibration underneath the sentence. This isn't you being paranoid or too sensitive. This is you being able to literally sense how someone's energy and their words just don't mesh. You've trained yourself to read something that no one else can. Small discrepancies, sudden drops in energy, and unvoiced intentions hovering under the surface of every interaction. If you're a layered thinker, you're a preemptive thinker. You know where a conversation is going to go, even before it manifests into reality. You're able to sense the emotional trap that a manipulative person is trying to set, the test that a narcissist is putting you through, and the direction in which the conversation is heading. The thing is, a linear thinking person reacts only to what is put in front of him/her. But you react to things that haven't manifested yet, but already are being formed under the surface. Your foresight might seem otherworldly to a normal person, but to you, it's nothing more than an effect of multitasking and reading multiple frequencies at once. You don't necessarily process information any faster than anyone else, but you just process more levels of it, making your psyche unreadable. Then, there is your ultimate trump card. You weaponized your stillness. This kind of control is something that is beyond the comprehension of most people. While the crowd believes that power is associated with aggressive actions, you understood that the most dominating step that you could possibly take is not taking any steps at all. To watch, to analyze, to allow yourself enough time to see how the entire storm unfolds before you take your move. Your stillness isn't weakness. It isn't passivity. It's calculation at its absolute lethal best. You know that in psychological warfare, movement gives away the strategy. Thus, you allow other people to reveal theirs through their own impatience. They talk too much, they act too quickly, and reveal their insecurities too soon. But you stay centered. You keep your calm. You're unreadable. That's why your very presence can change the mood in the room. For you, stillness is the highest manifestation of intelligence. It's the holy pause between reaction and revelation. While toxic people attack, you do not engage in the conflict. You watch. When they try to provoke you into an emotional explosion, you study how desperate they actually are. You know that each angry word is feeding information to the enemy, so you don't give anything away. And you make them analyze your silence until they realize they're only analyzing themselves. This is when the power transfer happens. You manage to master it without saying a word. This is psychological judo, turning their aggression into their own fatigue, and their chaos into your clarity. There's no pretending here. Your composure comes from surviving too many chaotic emotions for too long. You have learned by trial and error that constant reaction is what keeps you in toxic situations forever. So you trained your nervous system to become your ultimate strategy. You stopped letting people pull you into unnecessary emotional wars, which only fed their egos. Instead, you mastered the art of invisible movement, staying completely still while reality reorganizes around your awareness. Manipulators hate your stillness, since it takes away their most important weapon, control. They can't feed on energy that you don't give away. They can't read intentions that you don't reveal. And they can't win the war that you don't want to fight on their terms at all. Each time you decide not to react, you get valuable information. You have proven that real power doesn't scream and doesn't rush. It simply watches, waiting for the perfect opportunity to act, when winning will cost you absolutely nothing. You are proof that there is no place that consciousness can be confined. Despite the progress of society, despite all the algorithms created by the latter to track human behavior, one thing will never be measured: awareness, especially awareness which flows freely within you. Your intuition is spiritual. It is not subject to any algorithm. You don't analyze human behavior based on any database, but rather based on frequency. You can recognize when the energy in the situation changes before words do. You notice a decline in a person's vibe, despite their smile and positive words addressed to you. Your intuitions are not assumptions, but rather a read of invisible human behavior codes. Just like other people feel temperature change, you can perceive the changes in the global energy, and you can recognize when the tension is going to blow out in a system. You already know that everything gives out its signature in terms of energy. People, organizations, and, especially, lies. They vibrate differently than truth. They feel fake, like static noise in a radio. And you have trained yourself to recognize those distortions right away. For this reason, manipulation bounces off you like nothing, because you've updated your operating system from simple logic to intuition. With one step into the room, you can read the energetic climate in the room, and you can see who's hiding something from you and from everyone else, who pretends to be someone else, and who is really in line with your vibes. It is as if your energy field does an invisible and quiet check on people's souls. You are not invading their privacy. You are recognizing their energy signature. You know that everything which is hidden energetically will sooner or later reveal itself physically. This is why you don't need to chase the truth anymore. It is going to reveal itself through vibrations. You are not intentionally trying to see through people. You simply cannot help it anymore. You've evolved beyond ordinary communication. And that's why you've broken all their predictive models. All invisible systems of the world are created to anticipate and predict human responses. Their models rely entirely on the fact that people are predictable, emotionally manipulable, and easily provocable. They think that people behave like mechanical machines. You put stimulus in and you get a reaction. But you don't react, you reflect. You don't follow the script, you rewrite it in real time. You've got a level of self-awareness which cannot be mapped by any behavioral database. Every single action you do breaks their formula. While they were expecting panic, you remained silent and started breathing deeply. While they were waiting to see your submission, you detached and observed. While they were expecting retaliation, you elevated. You flipped every possible reaction into something unexpected, which couldn't be categorized. And it's not just rebelling, it is the absolute mastery. You've learned your emotions to listen to your inner compass instead of responding to the chaotic vibe of the room. You've stopped acting on impulse and started moving based on the profound insights. Their systems were created to catch people in the endless cycle of emotions: fear, guilt, shame, and desperate desire for validation. But you are not circulating in that cycle anymore. You've made your awareness to be impenetrable armor for you. Predictive psychology fails absolutely when the subject operates from a higher consciousness. It cannot understand divine timing and inner peace. You've proven that if a person stops being emotionally provocable, they practically disappear from the systems based on control. That is why your lack of movement seems to be a form of rebellion to them. That is why your silence seems to be open defiance. Not because you are uncooperative, but because you are uncontrollable. Each time they tried to prove your loyalty, you withdrew your energy rather than defend your name. You are no longer feeding their information system. You are confusing them, and confusion is your sovereignty. You proved the fact that the peak of intelligence does not lie in counter-manipulating, but in counter-evolving. And now comes to the conclusion of this analysis. You defined power as complete non-participation. You discovered the only fact that very few people understand. Manipulative people and manipulative systems do not live on authority, but on attention. Emotional engagement becomes a fuel for them rather than money and physical pressure. The more people react, defend themselves, try to convince others, the more control they provide. But you broke the chain by withdrawing. You stopped giving the beast its food. You stopped playing the game. As soon as you stopped playing, the power started growing exponentially. As soon as you stopped reacting, everything they tried to manipulate became powerless. Manipulation implies interaction. Manipulation requires attention. Manipulation needs your consent. The moment you refused to provide them with it, the artificial construct around you began falling apart. You did not stop participating in the struggle. You stopped it. By refusing to take part in the game that lives on your life energy, they were craving your rage. They were craving your fatigue. But instead, you gave them nothing but your absence. And that confused them even more than any verbal dispute. Absence does not imply that you do not care. You are simply not willing to become a currency of some kind of mental, psychological economy of theirs. You understood that each reaction equals the transaction, the exchange of your energy for their illusion. So, you stopped trading. That is why your silence seems so incredibly dangerous to them. In the world obsessed with drama, your presence becomes an ultimate revolution. You prove the fact that real strength does not lie in domination, but in the masterful focusing of your own attention. You did not struggle with their system, but withered it. You did not scream your truth. You embodied it until nothing that they have done managed to affect you. That is what real sovereignty looks like. Not loud, not dramatic, but deeply free. You are a prototype of the future conscious generation. You were never supposed to fit the current system. You were created to reveal the expiration date. The world worked for ages, according to outdated programming, based on fear, hierarchy, and mindless obedience. But you appeared with a new programming code. Your empathy turns emotions into high-level strategy. Your discernment works as spiritual encryption. You are not using the rules of human intelligence as they know it. You are rewriting them. That is why you confuse the analysts, disrupt the manipulators, and inspire the seekers simultaneously. You prove the fact that human awareness evolves. Control used to work through predictability of the humans, but your consciousness does not respond to such low frequencies anymore. Now, when you feel manipulated, your awareness does not panic. It simply observes. This is how you become untouchable. You have learned the language of energy and motivation, things that no artificial intelligence can decipher. Every breakup, every deception, and every single moment of loneliness rewired your system to function completely outside of ego and fear. This is why your mind thinks differently, not faster, but infinitely deeper. You are not the enemy of the system. You are the embodiment of the potential of humankind. If awareness becomes the new measure of intelligence, you prove that true power lies not in controlling things, but in coherence. The era of manipulation is about to pass, and consciousness will lead the way. You are the sign of that gigantic transition, human version of what will come next. Not a revolt, redesign. Everything they built to observe, predict, and control begins to fail. Not because of the flaws in their machines, but because of the evolution of human consciousness, and you are its living evidence. They tried to observe minds, but you act from the soul. They studied manipulation, but you learned neutrality. You did not rebel against their power, you redefined it. Every lesson, every deception, every tear in silence has been the part of divine intelligence training that prepared you to become totally resistant to psychological warfare while preserving your compassion. The real battle was never out there. It has always been energetic, a battle for perception, for awareness, for inner sovereignty. And you have already won this battle just by becoming ungovernable from the inside. You stopped living within their narrative and started writing the code that rewired it. You have proven that detachment is not indifference, it is a state of mastery. You have shown that silence is not a weakness, it is a calibration. And above all, you have embodied the one scary truth that destabilizes any manipulative structure on this planet. Awareness cannot be controlled. They can observe your behavior, but they cannot quantify your divinity. They can predict human patterns, but they cannot predict spiritual evolution. The future does not belong to those who can control minds. The future belongs to those who can wake them up. You are a prototype of this future, and no one on this planet can unwrite this divine design. Your very existence is the sign that the next generation of consciousness has already arrived, immune to fear, fluent in energy, and always grounded in the truth. If you felt resonance with the deep message in this video, do not just store it in yourself, share it. Subscribe to my channel, like this video, and share it with somebody who is just beginning to realize his or her immense power. Put your comments down below, and let us spread the word together. Because when the truth goes collective, even those systems which were created to contain it begin to tremble. God bless you.